それではお時間となりましたので、これ
Now
よ
the
り
time has
加
come,
速する
so
AI の社会
we
実
would like
装
to begin the panel session, Global Startups in the Acceleration of AI Deployment.
では初めにパネリストの皆様をご紹介したいと思います。
And we would like to introduce the panelists. First, from Global Brain, we have the partner and Europe office representative, Naoki Kamimaeda, and he is joining us remotely. Next, from White Star Capital, we have venture partner Shun Nagao. Best of regards. Next, from Hike Ventures, general partner Takahiro Shoji. Best of regards. Finally, the moderator is from Nikkei Asia Editor-at-Large, Takehiko Koyanagi. And we would like to request Mr. Koyanagi to take over as the moderator. How do you do, everybody? My name is Takehiko Koyanagi of Nikkei. The theme is Global Startups in the Acceleration of AI Deployment, and we are looking at the venture capital perspective. It's a 40-minute session, and we would like to look at what kind of AI startup companies look promising throughout the world, and we would like to look at the trends. And we're looking at this from an investment standpoint. I'm sure that it's going to be a very stringent outlook that we will be hearing from the venture capitalists here. First of all, in regard to the panelists here, I'd like to ask why you are in your profession now. What led to your deciding to be active in the leading edge of technology? Please introduce yourself very briefly. And first of all, from London, we have remote participation by Mr. Kamimaeda. Please. Thank you very much. And please allow me to briefly introduce myself. My name is Kamimaeda. In my case, I'm working for a Japanese venture capital operation, Global Brain. I'm a partner, and I'm currently working out of London, and I'm overseeing the Europe market. In regard to why I'm in my current position in investing, I was originally from Sony R&D as a researcher in AI and machine learning, and I looked at personalization or natural language processing and so on in a R&D role, and I was looking at business application throughout Sony, and I was involved in the startup of new businesses, and I started from an engineering side, but then I went to UK for my MBA, and then after graduating, it was around the time of the PlayStation 4. Now already we're at PlayStation 5, but I was involved in PlayStation 4. I was assigned to San Francisco, and I was involved in the launch of PlayStation 4 in America, and I spent about 2 years in San Francisco. And at that time, I became involved in the relationship between business and technology, and I focused on this area. And I looked at where technology seeds could lead to business. And I did some support activities. And I wanted to support such activities. And so therefore, I transferred to my current organization, Global Brain. And I am looking at startups and looking at the support of such operations. And after entering Global Brain, in regard, I've studied in Europe, and I have a network here that I can take advantage of. So I'm looking at AI, cybersecurity, the cloud, and fintech, and I am looking at investments in those areas. Best of regards. Thank you very much. Next, from White Star Capital, we have Mr. Nagao. How do you do? My name is Nagao of White Star Capital. I would like to thank everyone for being provided with this opportunity today to speak here. I come from a financial services background, and I was in a Citibank operation, and then like Mr. Kami Maeda, I studied for my MBA. I was born in Switzerland, and there's the World Economic Forum that holds the Davos meetings, and I worked there. And around 2009, after the Lehman crisis, I was working there for 2-3 years. And then around 2011, there was the fourth industrial revolution, or various innovations that started to come up and be discussed in the World Economic Forum. And so in 2016, I thought that I wanted to be closer to the field. And I came back to the financial startup, in the financial services area to assist startups. And I came back to Japan, and there was this company, White Star Capital, which is quite different kind of venture capital operation. It's not a Japanese one, but its base is located in the east coast of the United States and also Canada. And also in Europe, they have bases in Paris and London. And it covers 4 countries. And also I'm covering Asia through Tokyo office, and there's also a Hong Kong office. And we look at Series A and Series B early stage investments, and we try to help entrepreneurs in their international operations in our investment strategy. So I've been participating since the number 2 fund, and along with investments, I'm also looking at supporting entrepreneurs who want to operate internationally. Best of regards. Thank you very much. And next from Hike Ventures, we have Mr. Shoji. How do you do? My name is Shoji of Hike Ventures. First, we are involved in AI investments as a venture capital, and we're looking at seed stage startups in North America. In regard to why I'm in my current position, when I first started as a student, I came from a rural area, and I wanted to become more familiar with the internet, so I studied for 1 year, taking time off university in a production operation. And when I graduated university, I entered a consulting company. I wanted to develop areas I can excel in. So I entered this operation that Baidu, that has a search engine from the Japanese office. And at that time, they were looking at evaluation of output results and looking at what went wrong and then rescoring. They were doing a lot of work on their search engines. And so in that sense, right now, in looking into those areas, it was quite interesting for me at that time. And I was originally working for a Chinese company, but I thought that more new innovation was occurring in the United States. So from 2011, I transferred to a company, Digital Garage. And Digital Garage was looking at startups in Japan. I acted as the country manager. And I was also looking at the product side. And I looked at a lot of investments being carried out by people with a product background. And so therefore, I started to focus more on the investment side. And from the second half of 2017, I wanted to become independent and start a new venture capital company. And so I have a co-partner in San Francisco, but the two of us started Hike Ventures. Thank you very much. Oh, each of you have an outstanding background, and you have various experiences that led to your current position?
So for starters, on this topic, we tend to talk about abstract concept, but we want to talk about specifics. Venture capital firms have a wide range of portfolio companies. If you can select 3 interesting companies in your portfolio, I already presented this question to the panelists before this session. Starting with Mr. Kayamaeda from London, 3 portfolio companies that you recommend. What are those? Thank you for your question. I'd like to introduce the 3 companies: Japan, US, and London companies. 3 companies. First of all, Rain KK in Japan. We're investing in this company. In 2015, this company started its operation. AI management platform was deployed. The actual business launch is in the first part of this year. It is growing rapidly, and it has unique AI compilers. And compilers are in the platform named Outcast. AI machinery, when it's uploaded, this compiler technology will be deployed automatically, and this can be easily deployed to different devices. There are multiple machine learning modules that are developed, but if you want to embed them in a piece of machine, it will be difficult. But this company has unique compiling technology. Without changing model, it has been able to enhance hardware, thus the performance improved. It has very unique technology, and they are trying to make it available to everyone through this platform. Automotive companies, communication companies are the targeted clients. This is a startup company from Japan that can actually go to global market. Another company is also unknown company, a startup in London. Analytical Flavor System is the name of the company. Gastrograph AI is a service that this company offers. What it does is to look at food development. AI is applied to food development. For example, drink. Sensory panel of experts will do the tasting of different flavors. Based on the assessment of the expert panel, they would decide on the specific flavor of the Coke or soda that they are going to launch into the market. But the problem in this process is the humans, experts. They are located in different places. The flavor that is developed in New York to be introduced to different market, the lemon taste may be tasted different depending on where you are. The flavor that is loved in New York may not be liked in other locations. How can we actually develop a common taste that will be loved by universally, loved universally? How can you develop a flavor like this? So those are the questions that this company has. The products that are developed may be based on this tuning mechanism that this company offers. So that's the second company, which is quite unique and interesting. Another company that I like to recommend is a London company. Celeron is the name. It covers overall machine learning area. Machine learning model will be created, and when you want to operate that, you would face multiple issues, such as, say, if it's a server system, you simply have to deploy that to make sure that the server system is functioning without glitches. But then beyond that, machine learning model, you have to make sure it's functioning. You have to make sure it achieves high accuracy and precision. When you want to replace that, with existing model, the existing model with a new model, you have to go through this testing process again. And as you continue to use it, the performance and the accuracy may be degraded. And how can you adjust that? It requires specific task. So the tool to make that happen is developed by this company. The feature of this company is the open source. They can actually download the technologies from GitHub. This will be made available to most everyone. Explainable AI, why the result is reached, the process of reasoning that is disclosed, an adversarial attack that is attacking AI, that is to give strange training data to AI. All of these technologies are offered free of charge in the open source format from GitHub. Gitflow is the open source project that this company is part of. It has gained a very favorable reputation. Many parts are open sourced, but if you want to make use of them, of course, it requires additional development. And this company provides integrated development environment, and this will be the paid service. So this is how this is something that supports this company. So these three companies. Thank you very much. I have additional question, follow-up question to what you said. Idein is the company name. Idein, I-D-E-I-N. Idein. It's a Japanese company you introduced, the first company. HAI, where is it going to be applied? Specific area of an automotive, can you give us visual example? If it's a car, driver monitoring could be one application, or it could be monitoring the surrounding environment, such as AIDAS, to be able to detect objects. The models to make that happen can be deployed easily. And other than that, in terms of COVID-19, AI camera, CTC camera, to detect the temperature of the body or the face recognition. The models in those application areas also developed, and the current monitoring camera can be replaced with AI camera this company supports. So usually in the form of firmware, so the AI will be deployed on the edge. Yes, edge and cloud are connected, and the model you developed can be uploaded to the cloud. It will be compiled on the cloud, and it will be then fed back into the edge. And analytical flavor systems in New York, the second company you introduced. Do you have a specific product example where their technology is used? They are in this early stage, and many food companies are not willing to disclose, so I can't give you a name. But in Japan as well, some of the companies that everyone knows is using this technology. I can't give you the name. For example, Donbei, the instant noodle tastes different in Hokkaido and Tokyo. So that has to do with the application of this company, correct? It's not just the domestic market, though. They are trying to go global. Taste in Mexico to be introduced into North America or Asia. The food product that are sold in the Asian market can be then deployed to, for example, to Japan or Tokyo. And Seldon, another company, it's rather hard to understand this company, but the clients, who are the customers? Automotive companies, one, and e-commerce company to be able to recommend the products, and financial institutions, fraud detection, for example, would be another application area that they can support. About explainable AI, we can come back to this topic later on.
I'd like to ask Nagao-san then to introduce three companies. From that side, there are three companies. One is a Canadian Montreal company, and one is a French company in Paris. And the first company is in London. The name is Redshift, and basically they are involved in cybersecurity PaaS, or platform as a service. And they have a cybersecurity solution that they deploy on their platform. And from the community, they offer microservices involved in cybersecurity. They're providing this kind of environment. And the first effort that they made and the first service launch is in regard to email phishing. They have a solution, and there's a security protocol called DMARC. And in the product domain, there is a service that they offer. And the reason why they focused on this area is because in Japan, both the public sector and the private sector are looking into hacking issues involving email, and to have the people check the sender of an email or the care in regard to zip files attached. This is not part of the core business that employees should be involved in, and so therefore, if something could take care of that in the domain level for origination, if there's unauthorized email, then there could be some services that could block any email that may be impersonating someone. And for transfer-wise, or for the law offices, they're looking at this. And there's also In-Q-Tel, a CIA venture operation. And in regard to the DMARC solutions may not necessarily be involved in national security, but email is being used by public offices, and there is the fear of information leakage. And so therefore, the public sector is focusing its attention on this company. The second is a company called Vention in Montreal. And they are looking at a cloud-based digital manufacturing platform. That's the way we explain it. This means is that for online CAD, they have an offering, and people involved in manufacturing could be making drawings or carrying out tests on robots, or maybe looking at embedding certain parts. And Vention has machine learning capabilities that are able to then make various proposals as to what kind of parts could possibly be used in manufacturing, and from testing to ordering. And the interesting thing is that when it comes to the delivery, it's possible to anticipate delivery times as well. So it may have taken 3 or 4 weeks in the past, but for this Canadian operation, they're able to arrange deliveries of products in a matter of 2 to 3 days. They can reduce the lead time, and the customers are companies like Tesla or part of Google's operations. And among Japanese corporations, for factory automation or so on, some familiar names to everybody here is already using this. Their warehouse is only located in Montreal, but if there are custom parts that Japanese companies would want to order, there are cases where they may ask Vention because they're quicker, and Japanese corporations have been known to order from this company. The next company is Milo, located in Paris. And a year and a half ago, they opened up an office in Japan. What they do is offer a B2B solution for photography. On the demand side, there may be real estate companies, or it may be lodging operations, or food delivery operations like Uber Eats. And on their platforms, there may be tenants, and there may be various types of photograph needs, and this operation offers solutions. On the supply side, there are many freelance photographers. They have several tens of thousands of photographers registered, and the matching is carried out. But in regard to where the AI solution is used, in regard to the photographs taken by the photographers, the server of Miro has AI algorithms, and color compensation or coloring of the skies and so on are compensated for automatically. And if there is a room with a sofa, then there may be 3 different angles that they take shots, and they can tag the furniture and so on, and look at the optimal angles. They may compile through their algorithms the optimal photograph angles, so that by editing on behalf of people, it will be possible to reduce the lead time from taking a photo to actually offering it and selling it. Here in Japan, for food delivery, there is demand that is increasing, so that's one area to look into. And in real estate companies, when people want to look at new housing opportunities, it would be possible to have a 360-degree view using cameras, so that it will be possible for people to be able to look at real estate properties as if they were visiting that property through the use of a browser. Those are the 3 that I wanted to introduce. Thank you. First of all, in regard to the first company, Redshift, they offer the services already. If an organization has a mail system, then do they ask for this service? Or they have the communication, and on an on-demand basis, it'll be possible to look at the origination of emails and see whether it is clearing the security levels or not. There is communication that is carried out with Redshift, and solutions are deployed accordingly. So it's not a server operation that is offered as such. Next, for the 3D CAD operation, there are Japanese industrial robot manufacturers that may be using this, yes, and also medical equipment manufacturers. And so they're already close to the late stage of investment. They're still in Series B of funding. But there's still a lot of commercialization already, yes. In that sense, this is already public information, but Bain Capital and others who do later stage investments are involved in Series B, and in Europe and in Asia, there was the idea of move forward. And so there was a Series B investments that were sought for, but then the COVID-19 occurred. And so on a virtual basis in Europe, there's going to be announcements made on the activities. So there has been some delay in Next, in regard to Miro of France, are there media operations or data companies involved?
Eventually, yes, they will join us, but at this point in time, optimization of AI is based on the actual products. They are making adjustment on the algorithm. So people and events are the basis for the have not been used for optimization yet. But once the algorithm on these target is possible, I think they will join us because it could be a serious impact. Next, Mr. Shoji, please, your turn. So 2 Canadian company and 1 from San Francisco. I have 3 companies. They are easy examples. First of all, Optina Diagnostic, Montreal-based company. They will look at the bottom of the eyes to be able to predict the occurrence of Alzheimer's disease, including hardware. There will be a light irradiated on the eye to capture the image to be able to detect certain nutrients that are accumulated there. And this will lead to diagnosis of the disease. As a first stage screening, the conventional method was too expensive and complex. But between 200 and 300 companies, all you have to do is take a photo of the eye to make this initial screening possible. So we are making investment in this company. We have had positive reputation. By having FDA approval, I believe that there will be a brighter prospect of this company. And at the same time, drug discovery for Alzheimer's disease. Depending on the stage of progression, you will develop drugs on a specific stage. But once you know the prognosis based on this prediction, you will be able to start applying treatments earlier. Next company is from agriculture area. Green Eye Technologies is the company name. Half Israel, half Canadian company. They have computer vision to identify the unneeded weed in the cropland. Green Eye, beside the satellite image, they will look after actual spraying of the agricultural chemicals. Often farmers do use Roundup, almighty chemicals, but the cost tend to be very expensive for the farmland. They will have super weed that will be a new type of weed that is resistant to this Roundup. So they are trying to reduce cost on the part of farmers, and crop that can be grown using this technology that is similar to organic agriculture. Currently, the stage is pre-A series. Lastly, Syntegra Taiyo, the company name, it's hard to explain this company. On the other hand, this company is actually making fake data. Say a medical institution has the clinical test data or patient data, they can be made into fake data. Medical institutions need to anonymize data to be able to share that data. But when you have multiple sources, a lot of times when you have multiple sources, someone will be or may be able to identify the personal data. By making it fake, you can actually combine this data with something else. Data that is currently confined inside the intranet can be shared externally. But when you develop algorithm, the data volume is very important. A institution has a fake data, C institution has another data set, C institution also has data set. You may be able to align the formats of data to be able to share. Currently, at the time of coronavirus, the data that was not externalized, was not shared, is now being shared with Integra by synthesizing different data sources. And this synthesized data can be utilized for research. So this quasi data development is going to be an important topic in the near future. Fintech, e-commerce, marketing data, all of these are new application areas. So I think this company is quite interesting. Thank you very much. This Montreal company, Optina Diagnostics. 5 or 10 years ago, you can actually predict the onset of the Alzheimer's disease 5 years or 10 years before the onset. Correct? It's not 100% prediction. You can actually measure the amount of certain nutrient that is accumulated in the brain. Based on that concentration, it can present the possibility of the person developing this Alzheimer's disease, encouraging this person to see a doctor and have a diagnosis. As an easy initial screening, this has a very good performance. This has to go through clinical tests, right? What is the stage currently? We are currently increasing the number of clinical tests so that we can get FDA approval. But because of the COVID-19, well, it's not just this company. They are waiting for being able to make a release. It looks like that we have taken so much time here. It looks like I have to try to summarize the session. But listening to all those recommended companies, there are two things that I noticed. One is B2B area, companies that focus on a niche application. And there may be multiple niche spaces where AI can be applied. As venture capitalists, how do you guide the venture capitalists to be able to expand the business? Or do you actually encourage them to focus rather than expand? What is your advice that you give to these entrepreneurs, starting with Mr. Kamimaeda? When we make an investment after Series A, the companies that are making preparation to launch, we tend to invest in companies that have clear focus. Of course, depending on how good the prospect is, we would encourage them to formulate a roadmap. But as a startup company, it is important to achieve a success after the launch. So we have razor focus, pinpoint focus initially. So that's the usual process. Mr. Nakagao, in terms of the timing of investment, it is similar to Mr. Kamimaeda's company. So we follow a similar process. Even before Series A stage, Yosha Benjo, who is involved with Element AI, it's a Canadian AI company, spoke yesterday. And AI companies, some of them have horizontal reach. And the nature of our fund is more like investing in a company in a specific vertical. It could be insurance in the financial industry. Naturally, as they grow, they could be a unicorn company, you need to go outside a specific business line. But in terms of roadmap, so farther ahead, we expect them to expand the business areas. But initially, though, we make sure the companies do have a focus. Yes, we are also focusing on companies that have specific technologies. Depending on the timing, there are startup companies that need to expand. So horizontal reach of the basic technology need to be predicted, but it's very hard to compete with companies like GAFA. So we look at companies that have a specific business area and how much data can they derive. Is the quality data good enough? Do they have communities? So these are the three questions that we ask about the companies. By using the data, they will be able to develop products, deriving data from similar areas to generate new values. So initially, we will have a company that has focused areas, and we are optimistic that they will be able to grow their business.
Finally, we'd like to have one comment. Overall, when we look at AI business, it's machine learning that is the domain that is the core of many of companies. But beyond that, it has been mentioned about explainable AI or artificial general intelligence, which is closer to fundamental human intelligence, something that goes beyond machine learning. It seems like more fundamental AI. Do you think that in the near future, this will be subject to investments, or will it still take more time? Could you give us a comment on this? First of all, in regard to explainable AI, for financial services in the EU and US, why was a certain result generated and so on are being looked at. And so I think that things should move very quickly here. As for artificial general intelligence, compared to what was talked about before, it's in the hype cycle more of a period of disappointment. Right now, in academia, there's much research in this area. Of course, some startup companies are looking into this, including one that I am investing in. There are some companies that are operating in this area, but overall, it seems that in the area of general AI, it will still take more time. I see. Mr. Nagao, when it comes to explainable, I think it's exactly as the previous speaker mentioned. And by looking at the black box of the AI, aside from regulatory compliance, there's also the rationale that needs to be explained. And so the explainable AI-focused startups do have promise. As for AGI, it'll still take some time before AI is able to do reasoning or anything that corresponds to human-like intelligence. It may well be 2060 or 2070 before that can be realized. And when we look at the investment timing for venture capitalists, it's about 10 to 12 years, and we have to generate returns. And so if we look at the medium to long term, we haven't been able to come up with scenarios. So we seem to be focusing more on machine learning and areas where there's possibility of various applications. And even if you don't know programming, in daily conversational terms, if you can send instructions for RPA and so on, then that is more immediately promising than something like AGI now. Mr. Shoji, AGI, it's still quite difficult, especially when it comes to deep mind winning in AlphaGo. Well, in games and so on, good performance can be realized, but then it's still going to take more time for able to do more. What about explainable AI? Well, in the case of explainable, when there is online billing and when you look at what could be pushed to persuade, in regard to explainable AI, now there is more explanation about what AI analysis came about. And so in regard to the understanding of what people did to come to a conclusion, this kind of AI agent will take the explainable position. And if there's an ad that's logged on, there may be certain agents that could explain why a certain logon took place. Then there will be various algorithms that will be exposed. And so there may be more disclosure of such elements from here onwards. Now we've gone far beyond our allocated time. I must apologize to the organizers, but I would like to express my gratitude for sharing with us exciting contents. And I would appreciate your virtual applause. Mr. Kami Maeda, Mr. Nagao, Mr. Shoji, thank you very much for your participation.